Welcome, everybody. It is day 32 here at Wolf Camp, the Conservation College at Blue Sky Farm, and I am able to broadcast to YouTube and Facebook simultaneously today because I moved the Wi-Fi close enough. I pulled it all the way and strung it all the way outside the house as far as I could so that YouTube could stream. But we need another 199. We're at 801 right now. 199 more subscribers at YouTube. So go over there, youtube.com/wolfcampcollege, so that we can get to 1,000. That'll enable us to go out into the field and broadcast with our phones, which is much higher quality, both simultaneously to Facebook, but also to YouTube. And at that point, we are going to unveil, first time in 20 years, publish the Wolf Journey Earth Conservation course. And the first book is going to be, of course, Trail of the Neighborhood Naturalist. And each of these broadcasts, hopefully by a week from now or so, if we can get that other 199 people to subscribe, tell all your friends and family, anybody that likes the outdoors, jump on in there, subscribe, and that YouTube will enable us to live stream out in the field. And we'll start doing daily complimentary broadcasts and publishing on our website the Wolf Journey Earth Conservation courses, so that people that are studying at home, either here home from school or home from work, and want to go outdoors 20 minutes a day, can do those exercises to learn all about nature and survival. And then today, you can also go over to our blog to follow along the old bow making blog article that I wrote about 5 years ago, and it has a bunch of links into videos that were on YouTube at that time. I'm going to take those down after making this video today and just put this up. And then tomorrow, we're going to do survival arrows, hopefully, and be able to shoot. I'm not sure there is survival arrows, because in real life situations, well, it's going to be interesting. It's the way, it's a new way that I'm teaching, although it's an extension of what I've been doing for the last 20 years with Wolf Camp here. Now, I do want to mention that the first person that I moved from kind of just amateur bow making to learning how to do it right was with Frank Sherwood at Earthwalk Northwest. So go to earthwalknorthwest.com, check out his year-long hunting apprenticeship. He's a master hunter in the state of Washington, and it's an amazing once-a-week apprenticeship, I believe. And then I also learned some more from Peter Yankin in Seattle. He doesn't do things very often. He's an acupuncturist, Chinese doctor, I believe. And but he also, now I took it kind of the next step, and I was like, how do we make this from scratch? Somebody be able to go out into the woods and actually make a bow that's functional within just a couple of hours, maybe not even with a knife. Well, Frank had us learn on vine maple, and at the time, 20 some years ago, when I took that course from him, I didn't realize how incredible vine maple is. Now, not everybody has that in all their areas, but it's the most abundant and most sustainable thing that we can harvest here for bows in Western Washington. The reason I learned when I was clearing out some vine maple, I got a concussion because one came around, and because you can't break it, you push it, and it just goes, and that's called recall. And that's what you want for a good bow in whatever area that you're in. Try to find the simplest wood that will bend. You just try them all out, bend them, and if they break, don't use it. If they don't break, but they don't come back very fast, don't use that, like willow. Just sort of comes back slowly. You want fast recall. And so we're really fortunate to have vine maple in this area. Other maples, like our big leaf maple, no, not at all. Too brittle, has a pith down the center, so it's very weak. So half of this, actually 1/5 of bow making is harvesting and seasoning. Now, you might not be able to see this in the picture, but these are the 5 steps of bow making as I teach them. There's harvesting and seasoning. So here's an example of how vine maple grows all wonky. And so this one, I mean, I wouldn't probably use this. Much of what you want to learn about selecting is mostly what not to take. And so I'm going to start with this right now. And I'm going to show you some examples of some things to take or not take. Okay, so say you've come across this branch of whatever you're looking for. I mean, you could maybe look how thick it is here and thin down here. That changes too much over time. Real thick right here in a short amount of time, and real thin there. And so that's not really going to work because you're only going to be able to use it as thin as down there. Maybe here to here, a little crossbow sort of size would be okay. You'd have to work down this side a little, obviously, and get to that. As a matter of fact, that might not be too bad for a quick little fun shooter. This is one that I had actually about 20 years ago purchased, and I've always kept it. It came like this. It wasn't sealed up, and it twisted. Look at that. I don't know if I can show the twist. So don't bother. If it twists, you can't curve it back into shape. Just so now we're going to do one today that you can shoot right away without seasoning. But if you want to make a real big game bow, you need to season it. And that means letting it sit for at least a season, if not a year. And so vine maple is really cool because you can tell whether or not it's seasoned. It starts out as easy identifying in the woods here in the Pacific Northwest because it's green bark, like nothing else has that. Perfect green bark. Sometimes a big leaf maple will start out a green shoot, but the entire small tree or shrub is going to be green in the forest. Now, once it dries and seasons, it turns brown. So it's like the easiest thing to know whether or not it's seasoned. Now, this, I can just carve that down and use it as is because, again, even green vine maple has a great recall and a great strength. And then say you get it to the size you want, makes it easy to shoot, maybe 20 pounds or something. Well, over time, it's going to dry and turn brown, and then it's going to be about twice or more strength. So I'm going to show you some different stages like that. Oh, let's see. Oh, I'm going to just leave it at that probably because, of course, that's probably my most favorite thing about bow making is going out and looking for something great. So to season it, vine maple the other thing that's great about vine maple is it doesn't really crack even when you just season it without sealing it up. But almost anywhere else, if you're making, or if you really want to make a good big game bow, you have to cover that with duct tape or paint it or seal it with oil or whatever. And so that way, because you want it to season slowly. If you do something like this and don't seal it up, it'll just dry really quickly and twist. And you don't want that. You want it to season slowly. However, vine maple really doesn't do that, which is, again, we're really fortunate to have it here. Now, it turns into a character bow, so it's not going to be this perfect long, but no, you can get it that way if you curve it, straighten it and that kind of thing. To do that when it's green, it's really easy. You just heat it up and you put it in some, a vise or a couple of clamps like this, and you straighten it out, take it out, see if it's straightened out, and keep doing that over time with a little bit of heat, either over coals or stove or whatever. And then if it's already seasoned, then you have to steam it in order to straighten things out. But I like little character. As a matter of fact, check this one out that we're going to be using for a couple of different things. How much character there is in that. Now, the really cool thing is the center is exactly halfway. It's exactly centered from tip to tip. And so as long as the tips are centered with the center of the bow, then you can use it. I'm going to put this back up here and show you why I have it here in a minute. All right, so the second stage is sizing and shaping. Now, most people break their bows because they try to size it and shape it right down to what they want right away. And that is not what you do at all. So say this is at a stage where it's kind of shaped. Say you want a handle right here, but there's still, you can just start to bend it. Now this is sized and shaped. You can't use it, and you have to basically leave this stage at this point, sizing and shaping. Don't get it down to where you can much bend it at all. So that's actually about perfect because I can feel a bit of a bend in there. And so now you stop and go to your next stage. which is stringing and exercising. All right, so one of the most important things that you want to do the first time you make a bow is not start with something really nice like that. Start with some quickie thing. And so what I'm going to do is check out these vine maple sticks. You can go out and find some green, any stick. Again, check it, see if it bends or breaks. And even this little thing would be, vine maple is so great. You can shoot that and it comes back really quickly. And I could just put a string right on there and maybe right there and shoot a fun little arrow for the heck of it. But this one's a little bit more. Now I wouldn't normally use a, if I'm going to actually do a real bow, which we will in a minute, I'm not going to do something that's curvy. You want it pretty close to straight and not much of a curve in it. But I'm going to, the first thing you want to do is get something really easy that you can shoot in about 10 minutes. And the thing you want to learn is, first thing, don't bother doing this the first time on a bow that you really want to have work. But can you see that in there? Okay. Yeah. Is putting in some notches. Now the string's going to come down this direction. It's really shadowy. You think we need to move things to side? You could try to move all that. Anyway, so the string's going to come down. And so you want to think, okay, where is the string going to go wrap around? The first time, people usually put their notches in wrong. Don't cut into the back of the bow because most of the pressure is going to be back there. You can cut into it probably and get away with it on really good wood, but I'm going to cut a little bit in there. And now you don't want to cut toward yourself unless you're really getting your thumb bracing on there. So you want to do a lot of nice safety training on this. So you can use your knife, and then, but we're not going to. I'm going to get a saw in a second. And then again, the string is going to be going up that way. And so you want to have the notch go basically the same direction. I'm only doing it on the sides at first. Now to speed this up, again, I'm using my thumb to brace here, so I'm not going to cut myself going straight in. Normally, I would always turn the stick around to cut the other direction. That's the key to not cutting yourself. All right, so another, that right there. If anybody, if I'm looking for my knife, I just set it right there. You can make a comment. All right, so other tools you can use are a saw. Kind of make that notch in there. Or if you're in your shop or whatever, you can use a file, which is going to come in really handy if you start making any bows. You'll really want some round files like this. And there's a bunch of things laid out here. I'll probably pull a few out and use them here and there. So there's that. Or if you don't have anything, you're stuck out in the woods in a survival situation, just find a rock. And that almost is quicker if you can just break a rock and make it really sharp. No problem.
Can you do it up a little bit because
okay.
In the shadow. Yeah, there you go.
All right. But it's easiest to use a rock. It's hard when you're having to hold the rock and this. So it's even better if you can find a rock that's big and sturdy and stuck in the ground, and just, whenever you need to make a notch, you can use two hands and go on it like that. So it's even better if you find some cracked rock that's stuck in the ground, and it's almost like a natural vise. All right, so that's probably good enough to put a string on. The other side has a little stick right there, or a little branch that was coming out. So I'm going to just use that. Now, in previous broadcasts, Kim, probably in 2 or 3 broadcasts, we did kind of some rope making. And so we taught you how to make rope from scratch. This is the reverse wrap method. And could put that on there. So I think, this one is looking, whoa, it has a knot in it. I got to take that knot out. Yeah, thanks. This one is a little thinner. As a matter of fact, it is really thin right there. So I'm going to not, go ahead. I'll use that on the bigger one.
Okay.
I'm going to just wrap this around 2 or 3 times right there. And then make sure that it's sturdy. And then I'm going to show everybody just how to double reverse wrap this so you know that the rope's already kind of spinning that way. So spin that way, and then you have to reverse wrap the other direction. Spin that way, reverse, spin that way. Okay, so I'm not going to do this all the way down, but I am going to do it just for a second to keep it together, and then spin it together the way I have it spun. All right, let's see if it's long enough to get down to the other end. I think so, barely. All right, so now one of the real important skills of bow making is to, because you're going to be taking the string off and on and putting it back on and putting it back on and taking it off a bunch. And so you want to learn a half hitch or different kind of tricks of the trade of quickly. There's a knot in here. Take off. Yeah. Quickly taking strings on and off, because in order to go to the next stages, the stringing and exercising and the tillering and balancing, you'll need to be taking string off and on a lot. All right, this is off now. And again, now if you don't know how to make rope, you can just spin things together to make them a little bit stronger. All right. And now, so I'm going to show you how to create a half hitch. And so you want to, can you see it through that other one?
Yeah, just keep it in the sun.
Okay.
As long as it's in the sun.
So you want to hold the bow in your one hand. I guess it doesn't matter which one. Wrap the string around the back side and then make a half hitch. You can, and I like to go over the top. I'm going to spin this together a little more. Just one string. And then up and through right here. And then just make sure that when you're making a half hitch, you know you did it right, is if when you're pulling it, it's kind of going up and away from the string, the one that's going down, up and away. And then do two. So again, I'm going to go between here, and it kind of creates a loop right there. And so I'm just going to put the string right up and through. Now, to get it off really easily, you can kind of bend it like this so that there's a part sticking out, and that might be too hard to see, but experiment with it. And there's probably a million videos on YouTube of not making in particular half hitches. And so there we go. Now I'll be able to pull that back and shoot. That's pretty much it right there. Now never let go of the string without an arrow in there. We'll shoot tomorrow and show you how to instinctually shoot survival arrows, because you can't really aim survival arrows. You have to instinctively shoot. And so that's pretty much it. That's the first bow I would have you make, is to learn how to put those notches in there and learn how to tie a string on. Done. That's your survival bow. Of course, you're only going to be able to shoot a mouse with that. But anyways, sorry, Kim. We have 2 pet mice. So, yeah. That's how much Kim loves the animals. So, all right. Now moving on to stringing and exercising. Now, I'm going to actually take this green vine maple that just harvested a month ago or so, and so it's still green, obviously. Literally, in the case of vine maple, almost no other woods you're going to actually have the literal green versus literally seasoned brown look. Now, this is how to decide how to size and shape something easy like this. I like to try to find the middle where it's going to balance. All right, so now you can either shoot up or down. If you just shoot up, you use the bend as it is. In a survival situation, you probably just throw on a string, size it down a little bit, put in your notches, throw on a string. We're actually going to do that. But I want this actually to turn out really strong. And so I'm going to recurve it. In other words, pull it back this way so it bends, the ends bend up back that way. The part of the reason, not only that, but I don't want to pull it the other direction, because look at this knot right here. That's a potential breaking point. I won't have to deal with it. If it's on the outside of the bow, the part that's away from you, that's going to have a lot of pressure on it. If it's bending this way, it's going to go right there potentially. Also, there's a gash on that side right here. And so that's another reason I don't want to deal with pulling it. Like if it bends that way, it'll break that way. But if it bends this way, that doesn't matter. The pressure is going to be back on this side. Same thing here. Pressure is going to be back on this side if we bend it this direction. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is going to be a great bow. It could turn out to be 30 pounds or even 40 pounds after its season. Now, when we first make it right now, I'm going to guess that we could, by recurving it, maybe make it 20 pounds. And we're going to talk about how to test the poundage. In order for most states to have a legal bow, you have to make it 40 pounds. So, but the first one, don't bother. You just want to. So yeah, I'm gonna basically shape it right now. All right. So say all you have is a knife. First thing I want to do, really, to make sure I don't accidentally hit the wrong side, I want to take the center. Now, when I cut off some of this side here, excuse me, this side right here, it's going to balance a little differently. But right now, the center, I'm going to mark it right here. Not going to touch the back side. That's going to have all the pressure at all. I'm going to make a mark all the way down this side so that I know where to, if I do any cutting, carving, balancing, shaping this bow, I'm only going to be touching that side. So I know this side over here is a lot lighter than this side because I can see by looking at it that this side is the thicker side. So I'm going to just start taking off some. In a survival situation, all you got is your knife, or you can use, rough rocks to shape it down. So we want to get about this side to be balanced out in weight or mass, same as the other side. Now you can do that, but if you're in your shop, you're going to really want to start using rasps and other things. And so this is a really nice little rasp. This one's duller, but from student use and stuff. But and of course, you want to put it in a vise like this. I didn't tighten that one up because I want to put this in here actually in just a minute to get this going really fast. You can also, once you have it in some vices, Kim, can you help me put these in here? No, it's bent the back, but that's okay because this is going to be, this will help exercise it to bend the other direction. By the way, on these clamps, I'll just kind of turn. On these clamps, try to find on the internet or something clamps that have a, piece that's flat right here, because these ones that are just a knob kind of dig into your tables and stuff. So not so much on those. All right, so I'm going to tighten that up a little more. And now I can go a lot quicker with something like this. Also, you don't want to use your knife very much because you might start making gouges in there. You can also use a planer if you happen to have a shop with a planer. Now that's going to really dig in, so you want to make sure you're not going to take too much. Oh yeah, a really heavy picnic bench is the thing to use because it will not move. This one I just set up quick here for it. All right, so that is, I'm not going to do this too much because I don't want it to get too small. Because if you get this side too small, then you have to start taking stuff off the other side, and that's not good. Now I'm going to take the rasp and flatten it out a little bit, that there's no. Now this is basically shaped and sized, probably. I'm going to take it off and see if it'll bend. Backwards, never bend it the way you don't want it to go. And so, yeah, now that was the center, and now it's starting to tilt that way, meaning that side's a little bit heavier. So, yeah, the center is probably here now. Now I can take my tape measure, or in the field, say you don't have anything, you can just use a couple of sticks, break them in half lengths. This is 47.5 inches, so half of that is 23 3/4, and that is right here. I'm gonna make a mark on that spot, and let's see if it's balanced. That side still needs a little bit more taken off, which we will do when we test it. All right, so that's it for number 2. Now we got to string it and exercise it. So we're going to, I'm going to use a saw to put in. By the way, before I do that, I actually want to shape it a little more here, taking a little off the sides, but I'm not touching the back. It already has a little gash in it though. Just so that the tip is not quite as thick, because if you have a really thick tip on one side or both sides, you're not going to have as quick a recall. So I'm just going to kind of do that. And now take the saw, put in my notches, string notches. Woo. Vine maple is so hard. It's hard to even get this to. I would, but I'm in the field, pretending I'm in a survival situation. Oh, God, is
Just to keep yourself safe.
Yeah. Okay. And then on the other side, having it go the right direction. You got to think about it so you're not going the wrong way. And I'm going to have Kim kind of carve in with the file these while I go show you the next stage, and we'll come back to it. So I got to remember this side is the only side I'm touching, because I'm going to be shooting it like this. So I'm not going to gash or touch or ding or anything the back side, because any ding like that could make it break. All right. So that string's going to go in there. That side. And here on this side. Make sure I get it in the right spot as best as possible. Kim, can you take a file and kind of get those in there a little bit more so that we can string it up? All right, and while Kim is doing that, I'm going to show you this. So this is a completed character bow, and when you want to have somewhere like a branch or anything that you can put your bow over after you've strung it up and pull it down and look and see whether it's balanced. Now you back there, like a person helping you back behind you, can actually tell you if something is balanced somewhat or not. This is one that's getting close to being done. Actually, I'm going to put this up here first. And let's see how balanced this is. All right, now you guys back there can tell a lot better than I could whether one side needs a little more taken off or not. And then if one side's not bending as much, you find that spot where it needs to be tillered. So now you're moving on to tillering. And that's basically the next, if you're really making a real bow you want to do, you're going to be going back and forth between stringing and tillering, between 3 and 4 for probably a week sometimes, if you're really wanting to make a nice bow. All right, so to figure out what your, how much strength is in the bow, you can get a fishing weight like this, or a bow scale. This is actually officially a bow scale, or a fishing scale to weigh fish. Make sure that it's sturdy and goes up to about 50 pounds, because you want to try to use it for a bow you're actually trying to make. All right, so where's my tape measure? Right here, yeah. For your draw length, now you can just get a stick in the field, and when you shoot, like we'll show tomorrow, you're going to be shooting sideways. You're going to be finishing up right here. You're going to bring the string right to your lip, and you're going to be holding the bow between your finger and your thumb. And so you can actually take a tape measure or just a stick and cut it off and see kind of, this is a not perfect. Like if you're doing compound, bow shooting at a range, look that up to show you how to do the draw length that they want. But my draw length would be right here at my lip, and that's 28 inches, 28 and a quarter. And so that's from the bow down. And so I made a mark right here, and I'm going to make it bigger at 28 inches. So I need to pull the string down to that point. That's my draw length. And if you're doing a bunch of people and students and stuff, you do 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way down to about 34, or however big your biggest person is. And so let's check and see how much pounded. By the way, I haven't been using this much. I did exercise this old one a bit, but I think I'm going to put a little bit of tongue oil, or maybe some, maybe rub it with a little bit of beeswax to really keep it from being brittle. Now, it was in the sun for a few minutes, so it could be more brittle, but didn't open this tongue oil yet. Let's see if I have one that's open. Okay, just opened it. And you really want to do this quite a bit of time before. I can't get this open. I know, I'm pretty sure it's not going to break, so because I've been exercising. So we're going to pull it down, and I put a little piece of duct tape on here just to protect the string. And this is just paracord. I'm going to pull it down and see the string, or the So down to here, it's about 20 pounds. I'm just exercising it. And this bow is to the point where you're almost done stringing with stage 4, going back and forth between 3 and 4 a lot until you can get it down to your draw length and it's really balanced. So that got down there, and it is 30 pounds at my draw length. It would be maybe 35 pounds with somebody with a 30-inch draw length. So that's how you kind of test if you want to be official on your draw length. Now let's take, how you doing over there with that? Are both sides fairly filed?
No, well, this side isn't as good as the other side.
Oh, that's okay.
Is it good enough?
Yeah, let's try it. This side, I'm going to really, now I can shape this a little bit more later, but I'm going to really tie it on tight on this side so that, because it's not, the notches aren't in there quite as deeply. So on one side, what you can do is, again, this putting on a string really makes a big difference. Just for extra strength, you can double it over. Like just fold it over, so you have basically 2. You could just tie it on there with a square knot on one side because it's not going to slip. But I'm going to tie it double strength. Oops. And I have plenty of string, I think, that we or I or somebody made on this. One side you can do whatever you want, because you don't really need to adjust it that much. But you do want to take the string off and on a lot. And so what I recommend doing is just taking it off, double it over, make a loop, and you can just tie it like that, or put it through and see if you can get it to a point where it'll slide up, and one will slide freely. This part right here will go up and down freely. And again, look it up to see how you can do that. I'm doing it like this. I've just kind of basically made this little knot right here. And now this part, I can slide up and down freely. Oops, I just pulled it out of there, but that's all right. Well, if we had time, I would put it on there nicer. Okay, so I'm going to tighten. If you pull this tight, now it's going to hold because it's kind of like a slip knot. So look up slip knot. All right, and then on the other side, you want to do that half hitch. So, oops, almost forgot I'm recurving it. There we go. And so put it around back, put it underneath between the bow and the string, and then go up through that loop that you kind of created. Now do it twice. But I'm going to slide it down the bow a little ways, about 1/8 of the way, because of course we're going to have to slide it up into here to get that bow to bend a little bit. The second half hitch, going through between the bow and the string again, but this time so that I can take it off easily, making a little loop right here, putting it through double so that I can just easily pull on that to release it next time. Okay, tighten this up. Now to string a bow, you don't want to put this in the ground at all. What you want to do is, I'm going to turn around so you can see how I step through. I step through my left foot through between the string and the bow, and then put the bow next to my foot and not on the ground. You think you can see that? Oh, I got that little stool to step up. Oh, I used that. And
here, let me
put. Bend it.
You're in the shade, so it's not hard to see.
Now it's going to be recurved, so it's going to be hard to bend it back the way you want. But once you do, especially if it's a green bow, you should be able to do that. See if it stays on there. Now the string is going to stretch, and that's all fine because all you're doing right now, recurved, all right, is you're trying to get it up onto your mechanism, your tree branch or whatever, to see how balanced it is. Get that back on there a little bit better. Ooh, there we go. Tighten that up. And see. All right, put it up and see how it works. Now at first it's going to want to flip over because I haven't exercised it this direction yet, so I'm going to hold on with my left hand. And all I'm doing is pulling it down to see which side. That was just a string, don't worry people. There's that string on there, tighter. We'll just get those notches in a little bit more. See if I can get it to pull down without falling off there. Okay, so which side, Kimmer, do you think needs to be taken off, a little bit more taken off? Which side's not bending as much?
The right side wasn't bending as much.
Guess we had a flaw in our string. I should have double reversed wrapped it. Which side? The right side?
Yeah.
Over there needs a little bit
more. It
more.
wasn't bending as much.
Okay. Great. So now you're going. I just strung and exercised it. Step 3, and now I'm going to step 4. Back to step 4 again, over and over and over until this gets tillered. Basically, now I'm just taking off material to tiller it. Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So, y'all, we're getting a little overtime. Kim just mentioned, and so this is basically bow making, a survival bow, and tomorrow we'll continue, make a survival arrow and shoot it with this very bow. I'm going to keep working on it, get those notches in deeper. I'm going to keep tillering it using mostly just this. Kim was saying the other side needs a little bit more done. So I'm going to take this kind of notch, or this, the branch that was coming up here, and take that off and start. Also, if I take the bark off on the back side, it will help train it to know to bend back this direction. Again, I'm not touching the other side at all. This is tillering. The different stages of tillering, you want to get down. After you use a rasp, then you want to start making it really smooth with a file, if you have that available. If you don't have a file, you just take your knife and do this to get it perfect. The more beautiful and smooth it is, eventually you're going to get to the point where you feel like you've tillered and balanced it and strung and exercised it enough where you want to sand it with sandpaper, or sandstone, if that's all you have out in the field. You want to start with, you know, after your file, you might want to go with 80 grade, and then all the way up to maybe 400 or even 600 grade sandpaper to get this sanded down just perfectly. This one right here, the back was not touched except for bark taking it off. If you do touch or nick anything in the back, you need to take an entire growth ring off. We don't have to, but it helps it not break. Notice this side, this was only worked on the side that's toward the string. All right, so sand it, oil it up, make sure there's no nicks or anything that where it might break, and slowly, don't pull it all the way back to your draw length at first. You're always just exercising and shooting. We'll do that tomorrow with this one, that the green vine maple that we just started. Well, should we good enough for now? All right, so go to the blog post. I'm going to update it on our survival bow curriculum. And then we're also going to take off the arrow part of that, put into a new blog. I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow in time for tomorrow's broadcast at 6 p.m. Upcoming Saturday is our honeybees arrive here at Blue Sky Farm. That's going to be the, and then I was just sitting around thinking, you know what we have to do in addition to bow and arrows is atlatls, shooting atlatls, which are spear throwers. That's how humans really started being successful. So thanks everybody. Get outside and be well and take care. All right. See you tomorrow.